Hello, everyone. I'm Dominique Johnson-Lindsay, and I want to welcome you to the Active Listener podcast by Lightspeed. As a lifelong learner and the daughter of a Navy veteran who became an elementary school teacher, education and service are in my DNA. This foundation, paired with my love of technology, led me to these conversations with remarkable minds shaping the K-12 landscape. Join us as we amplify these vital voices and explore how active listening remains foundational to educational excellence. Whether you're an educator, administrator, or someone passionate about the future of education, there's something here for you to learn. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us again for another episode of the Active Listener podcast. I'm so excited for today's episode. So I have Lisa DeLapo joining us. She is the Information and Instructional Technology Director at Union School District in San Jose, California. Lightspeed has done some work with her, so I'm excited to talk about that. But I'm excited to just talk about Lisa's experience overall. So before we even dig into everything, Lisa, please just let us know a little bit about your background.
Hi. So I actually started out as a teacher. And before that, I was actually in the medical field. So I came to teaching accidentally. I was coming to pick up my son in first grade, and the principal runs out to my car and says, "Can you pull over and talk to me for a minute?" I'm like, "Oh my gosh, what did my son do?" And she's like, No, your son's fine. We need to talk to you about a job." And I was like, "Okay." And so I actually started as a teaching assistant at my son's school in first grade for 2 years. And then I decided, well, I'll just go ahead and finish my master's degree and get a teaching credential. And so I did that. And I've been teaching for I taught for 6 years in private school. And then I moved into public education about 10 years.
Oh, wow. Lots of different experience. But I know today you are a tech director. So
Yeah.
talk to me about how that shift happened.
So it was really funny. I was working at a private school in Alameda, and the principal told me, you really should get some more experience in technology because you rarely adapt at it, and you should learn more because it's the future. And I was like, oh, that sounds like a good idea. So I went and got a network and communications management certification, and that I had no idea would open up so many doors for me. So thanks to her and thanks to the site CTO program, I am now a director of technology, and I have been one for probably 8 years now total.
Gotcha. So across that time, I'm sure you've seen quite a bit. One of the things that always stands out to me is the pandemic, because I think we leaned into technology in the pandemic more than we ever had before. So just thinking about that, talk to me about the pandemic shifting your perspective on technology and education, and also maybe what technologies do you think arose in the pandemic that you think are here to stay?
For one, Zoom, right? Like we became very adept at using video conversations, and also just constantly having a screen in front of us. And that was good, but it's also bad in that we don't have that media balance in our lives anymore. And we're working on that in Union, just try to get just a media balance for our students, because it's just, they shouldn't be in front of their computer all day. But things that were good during the pandemic, probably like Google really started doing a lot more with their Google Classroom, doing a lot more with Google Meet, Google Chat. We also had our phone system, which is a voice over IP in the cloud, and it really was like a lifesaver during COVID because we had no other video conversations available to us, and then that was already a part of our phone system. So I think the one thing that stuck around that I wish wouldn't have is the use of YouTube as an instructional tool, because it means so much more when the teacher is more attached to the message. So maybe if the teacher made the message instead of some random YouTuber creating their lesson and sharing it, I think that is one thing, but I also do love that kids use YouTube to find out how to do things.
I agree, and I would think, even outside of K-12, that's kinda we see this same kind of, balance needing to happen where we love that more people are technically savvy in these tools, especially people that love technology. I'm someone who, like, is an early adapter. I love technology, so to see other people being able to use these tools, we love it, but on the opposite side, it's like the technology dependency almost and, like,
Mhm.
some of the things that we're losing in the day to day, we kind of hate to see that part. So,
Right. Like if the power goes out, you're like, "What? Like you used to teach without power. It's fine. You can do it. You can do it."
right. So with that, we're talking about something that I think is another concept that's pretty common. We've actually had other tech directors on this podcast talk about it, and that is getting teachers to adopt new technologies. I always think that's a little bit interesting because um, when we've heard it before, we've heard kind of two different subgroups. And that's one that wants anything new, they want to test it out, try it out. And then we have the other group that's like, there's nothing wrong with the way I'm doing it. I don't need anything else. So talk to me about how you get teachers to adopt new technologies. What kind of strategies do you really use?
You think we have to figure out what they want the technology for first, like find out their why. I think in teaching, the why is always more important than the tool, right? So if they want to have, like my ideal teaching environment would have every kid would have a Chromebook and an iPad, and the teacher would have whatever tool, but they would be able to let the kids choose how they were going to show what they know, and they would use, whatever tool they wanted to. It could be, arts and crafts, it could be, you know, paper mache, and then it could also be something as high tech as, using Adobe Photoshop and creating something. And then with a AI coming into the picture, who knows, right? Um, but for getting teachers to accept it, I figure one of the trainings I do here at Union School District is called the 4 Cs. And we dedicate 4 days to it, and it's each day is a C. So one of the days is critical thinking, one of the days is collaboration, communication, and then creativity. And using tools and sharing with each other what we do in the classroom is like the biggest way to get other people involved in looking at new technology. Like everybody um, was so impressed with one teacher using Canva for a lot of things. And so they're like, oh, let's learn that. So, it turns into a mini lesson and it's really powerful when it's, like a cohort of people just collaborating together and making the tech kind of useful in so many different ways. But I also think that it doesn't necessarily need to be the teacher using it. I have a great 5th grade teacher that she has tech helpers in her classroom and they learn everything. So she doesn't have to. And it just works out really well for her. And she always says, oh, I'm not techie. And I'm like, but you are because you use it so much with your kids. So yeah, it just depends on the why, I think.
Gotcha. That makes perfect sense. And to that point, I think one question I have is not only with the teachers, because we know they're such an integral part, they touch the kids every day, but it's also like across departments. So I know a lot of times when there are investments in technology in a school, there are these other departments that may have to agree to want to purchase it, or they might have to just be willing to integrate with it. So kind of talk to me through the process of what do you do? What is it like to work with across departments in order to kind of make these technology decisions?
So a lot of the times we're left out of the technology decisions. And so I found that by making an appointment with cabinet level departments and their directors and trying to find where their projects are and what they're planning on doing really helps us say, oh, well, technology can help with that, or oh, you really need to think about XYZ before you put that in. Like with SPED, I'm actually getting a certification in assistive technology applications. And so I feel like that's going to help me help our students with those needs. and talking to the SPED department and working very closely with them, because right now they just go to the county, they get, a recommendation for something, and there's no follow-up for the kid. And so I think it means that the leadership in any tech department has to go and seek out the leaders of the other departments to make sure they're not being forgotten, as well as just making sure that they know what projects are coming up and are involved in just any kind of big decisions that are going on at the district.
That makes total sense. And I could see it kind of being that way because a lot of times, across different disciplines, you really don't know about decisions that are happening. They kind of bring it to you like,
Yeah.
hey, this is what we're doing today. It's like, really? I didn't realize
Yeah.
this is where we were.
Yeah. And many times, in the tech department, I'm sure tech directors across the, globe will tell you, oh yeah, we're usually the last person to know, and then it becomes an emergency because they didn't plan, right? So one of the things I always tell my employees is, just because they didn't plan doesn't mean it's an emergency for us. So, we have to balance that customer service as well with, the demand of what we need to get done.
That's interesting you say that, though, because I think this is often a common misconception about where the decision making for certain areas of a school lie. I think my initial thoughts coming into K-12 was like, oh, this person, maybe a soup level person, but still everybody in the technology department that is a leader, they all voted and said yes to this initiative. And, after working in K-12, I realized it does not work like that.
No, it doesn't. And it's honestly, I would say 50% of the time we're finding out within the week that something's being deployed or being run. And so we're constantly just trying to make sure, like, anyone we have at the sites are listening, keep your ears to the ground and let us know if you hear any kind of whisperings about anything that would have to do with technology. And I think, slowly but surely people are learning that, we're not going to give out the Wi-Fi password to anyone. I don't even know it. So that's kind of like good. So I can't be put on the spot and say, give it to me. I think it just takes a lot of planning and a lot of just, okay, next time, I'll help you out this time, but next time I really need a little bit more, leeway and time so that we can prepare best, because usually those instant decisions are not great for the network or great for cybersecurity.
It brings up a good segue, though, and that is something that literally brought me to you was finding out about this unique makerspace that you all have in Union School District. It is the talk where I've been like, oh my gosh, I cannot wait to go and see it. So what I like, knowing that, something like how it's been talked about, it definitely required many people kind of with their hand in it making decisions. Talk to me about this, like, development of the makerspace, and what does it mean to you all? What do you hope to get out of it?
So I fell into the beauty of the makerspace. So it wasn't something I invented here. It was something I inherited. Our former associate superintendent, Andrew Schwab, he was very visionary and very forward thinking, and he wanted makerspaces for every K-5. And I think he wanted it for the middle schools too. And one of our middle schools chose to do it, but the other middle school chose a track instead, which is fine. But it allows that hands-on learning, and we need, everyone says STEM is the future. You need to have really good instruction in science and technology and engineering principles and art and math. And we don't really have hands-on ways of doing those things. It seems like everything's done from the textbook, and it's like there's no creativity. So having maker spaces in the K-5 also allows us to kind of build that momentum of STEAM knowledge and interest. So then when we have, especially girls, right? Like by the time they're in fifth grade, they already know they're not going to be a STEM person, or they do. right? And that's where the biggest drop off happens. And so we try to infuse that love of wonder and curiosity, and then embed it with, the engineering principles, which are pretty much, are all inquiry based, and design, thinking type things. It's just a beautiful thing to have. So we have laser cutters, we have 3D printers, we have um a thing called a carvey, which carves into plastic and wood. We have, like you name it, robots, lots and lots of different types of robots, lots of different types of circuits, makey, microbit. We have a lot of different things. And so it's really basically a place where kids can go and have their questions answered by their own inquiry, right? So I used to teach every Friday. Uh, it's called Genius Hour, but we did it in the makerspace for all fifth graders for 1 year. Me and the ice team specialist, and she and I would just teach fifth graders all Friday, and it was, we went through the whole district and having them in the makerspace with the teachers, and the teachers had to do the lessons too. It was just really seeing that spark in the teacher's eyes of how kids are getting their, every teacher's, I love it when they have their aha moment. Well, this was like, all 32 kids were having an aha moment. And we actually taught 64 kids at a time. So the makerspaces are basically these beautiful, beautiful classrooms that are fully stocked and very high tech looking, with the electrical coming from the ceiling. I mean, it's like a dream classroom. If I could have any classroom, I would choose that one.
Gotcha. It sounds amazing. So I love the description. I'm like, oh my gosh, I truly cannot wait to see it. Talk to me about how you think that's gonna evolve. Like, how do you think the maker spaces will change or grow, as time progresses?
Well, so we had STEAM coaches for 3 years. And when I arrived, it was in 2019, they were on their third year. And then, of course, COVID hit that school year. And so high touch enclosed spaces were not allowed. And so I had to lay off my makerspace specialists, and I had to have the teachers go back to the classroom. And so that was really hard. That was really, really hard. So then the makerspaces stayed closed for a year. And then we brought them back, and how we brought them back are through STEAM kits. So my ICE STEAM specialist, she has her master's in library and information science, and she also has her state makerspace coordinator certification from Krause Center. And she basically creates kits for every grade level, with each kit having enough for each class in each grade level. So there's a first grade kit when there may be 3 classrooms of first graders, and so there's 3 kits inside of the one big STEAM kit box. There's a QR code on it, and you can scan it, and it basically comes up with the lesson with, associated videos and instructions. And so it's just like, if you're scared to go into the makerspace because you don't know I don't know how to use a 3D printer, or I don't know how to use a laser cutter, you can schedule time with the icing specialist, or you can do a kit. And the kits are, amazing, because some of them are design thinking kits. Some of them are like tie literature to a STEAM project. So like there's one that's called Beauty and the Beak. And it's a third grade lesson where they read the book Beauty and the Beak, and it's about an eagle that a veterinarian was having trouble getting him to eat, and so they developed a 3D printed beak for him, and so the eagle could eat again. And so we have all these stuffed animals with arms missing, or just different appendages missing, and so the kids have to actually figure out what they're going to make for that animal, that pet, to make it be able to do everything else that, other animals could do. So, it's really cool because they'll do the prototyping like in the design thinking process, and then they'll improve it with, use and time. And then it's so cute to see like the finished product. All totally different. Nothing looks like, nobody makes the same exact thing. Like it's not, you come into the lesson and it's not a recipe, right? It's definitely critical thinking, collaboration, communication, and creativity. So it's
I
really
love
cool.
it. This sounds so exciting. I'm like, I want to do
Come
that.
on over. We want you to come over.
And you bring up something good about that, and that is, this culture that you're creating, tied to your 4 Cs and just tied to the innovation that it seems that, threads through the students and the teachers, and just staff sounds very amazing. How do you ensure that you're not just chasing the latest trend with the innovation and really honing in on, what's important or what is truly going to make some type of impact, whether it's the engagement or the actual academic success of the student?
Yeah, that's a great question. I feel like, the 4 Cs are timeless. They came with the 20th century learning model, but they've always been very important. So they're timeless. If you can infuse the 4 Cs and let the kids do the work, and do the exploration piece. And I like to think of it as an explore, explain, apply. So they're going to explore the concept. They're going to learn about it from their teacher or from whatever resources they have available to them. Like maybe it's the library, and maybe it's, YouTube. And then that's the explain part. And then they're going to go to the apply, and they're going to take that learning and that curiosity and create something new. And so, I think this transcends all types of little phases that, there's like the cliche things of, oh, we have to do that 21st century learning. Like, you know what? We've been in the 21st century for a really long time now. It's, 2024. If you're not doing 21st century learning, then, oh my gosh, get out of education, right? So, doing the 4 Cs, I feel like it doesn't take tech. It doesn't take a degree. It takes patience and a lot of ability to have constructive chaos in your classroom, because you're not going to have everybody working on the same thing, right? And if they are working in teams, it's going to be loud, but it's, as long as it's constructive chaos, you can live with it. And so I don't think everybody's teaching style is going to be, embracing this, but it, I guarantee you would have less absences and less problems with kids staying in school if you taught in this kind of engaging and open way, where kids are going to have FOMO because they don't want to miss 1 minute of whatever you're doing. I know a teacher that he teaches. He's a 5th grade teacher, and he just, the way he teaches, there are kids who will stay in at recess to finish their assignments because they're so engaged and they don't want to miss anything. And so he does like breakout EDU and just a lot of cute, little projects that, they just blow your mind. And he's a former engineer, so he really does know the engineering process to a T.
I love that. So first of all, I love constructive chaos. Like, I need to put that in my vocabulary.
Yeah, that needs to be
I
a
get
bumper
it.
sticker, right? Like, I teach constructive chaos.
Also, I'm pretty jealous of this engineer turned teacher, because I'm like, he probably knows all of the good stuff. I think engineers are some of the most like brilliant people
Yes.
ever. So I know they're having a blast in his class. Like,
Oh yeah, yeah. I love going to his class. In fact, that's my therapy room. Like if I have a bad day, I'm gonna just go over to that school, go to his classroom, and just watch.
so a couple more questions before we get to my last fun stuff. And that is, obviously, I know you by way of just being a customer of Lightspeed. So I do want to ask more or less, not about the technology of Lightspeed. Everybody can look it up and see what it is, but talk about your experience with Lightspeed. And as you talk through these kind of like initiatives that you have in your school and kind of things that you do on a regular basis, how does Lightspeed fit into all of that for you?
So we have Lightspeed in every single classroom, including our after school program classrooms. I think it's really important. We actually house the deaf and hard of hearing elementary and middle school campuses for the county as well. So we have a lot of reasons to have audio enhancement, but we have them in every school, not just the ones where our deaf and hard of hearing, students are. So that said, I feel like for teachers, it has been for me when I taught and guest taught in fifth grade, I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to lose my voice by the end of the day. But I didn't actually have that problem because I used the lanyard mic. And I think the way it has evolved, especially with, now they're going to have the panic button and direct discussion with the office through our phone system, it's just amazing how forward thinking Lightspeed is with solving so many different issues with one very necessary product, right? I think the one beautiful thing that I can say about wearing the lanyard mic and having the kids have the classroom mic, it's just the engagement is just so much more increased, especially through doing that constructive chaos type teaching. And it's just beautiful to see it when it's used. Getting people to use it is really hard sometimes, but when you tell them, "Hey, it's not about you, it's about the kids," I think it makes a big difference. And when kids get to have that microphone and it's their chance to talk out loud, and be heard by everyone, it's really powerful. And we we used to just get, 15 minutes of discussion on one thing, because everyone wanted to have, a turn. So it's a beautiful thing to see participation and engagement just because you have a microphone, right? And that it works instantly in the classroom.
Got you. I totally agree. And last question about this is more related to that like panic alert that you talked about, because obviously that is one of our newer features. So that has came along with having this, Cascadia platform. Talk to me about why you felt like that was kind of the right direction for you all. What made, wanting to kind of do that 2-for-1 and invest still in more instructional audio, but also, this safety and security and communication element? Like, why was that so important where we were kind of the better solution?
I feel like when you teach in a classroom, you can't plan for the emergencies that happen. And unfortunately, we live in a society that, gun control is an issue and school safety is an issue. And so, from the most minor thing of a kid having an asthma attack and you being able to get the nurse right in your room or the health aide up to, hey, we need to have a lockdown because you can talk to the office. It's going to be great. Um, we're still waiting to implement the features, but we do have it installed in 2 full schools, and so just waiting for it to take off is like I can't wait, and we're waiting to beta test certain things, and it's just we needed a solution that incorporated the audio enhancement, but also gave us something else, right? Like we would have probably gone with Lightspeed, the same ones that we had before, which were blue the 965s, but just stopped making them. And so to see the additional features of having that for not much more money, it was just brilliant. So, and working with our school safety committee, I think teachers are going to just feel a lot safer and parents are going to just know that their kids are in really good hands. They already were, but now there's an easier way for them to get to the office right away.
I love it. I love it. And I'm so excited to see it roll out for you all. Obviously, with a new product, we got a couple of different things happen across the country. So
Yeah.
I'll be so excited to come back and just find out how it's actually working in real time for you. Because we are obviously so excited to have it. And I think it's going to be really impactful. And I always
Well,
say it, even though these stats are not right at all, but it's like, I love it existing for the 98% as well as the 2%, which is, this day
absolutely.
to day in the classroom. And then this 2% of when something happens, you have something available.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, it's great, and it's anytime, anywhere, right? So, I feel like the mobility of it all is is just another thing that Lightspeed thought of where, it wouldn't have come up until we started using it. That would have been, oh, you know what? We should have had, but they thought of it already.
Right. It's perfect. It's perfect. So, with that, I do want to ask you two fun questions
Okay.
before I let you go. I ask every guest these two questions, and it's just because I love hearing everybody's unique answers. So, question number one is, if you could remove one barrier for children at school, what would it be?
Ooh, one barrier. There's so many. I would say I would want every kid to feel safe and loved and wanted in their classroom, because that in itself is going to bring kids back every day.
Agreed. I love that. I love that. And again, unique. Every answer is so different. So. And then very last question, because obviously we do sound here, so it only makes sense to think about it. What's your favorite sound in the whole world?
Oh. There's so many. I would just say I'd say off the bat, just hearing my son's call or say, Mom, I can never get enough of my kids. So, or even better, like when I'm in the classroom too, and they'll be like, or I'm walking across the classroom just visiting, they're like, Mrs. D. That's pretty darn cool too.
I love it. I love it. That's always unique because I never know if people are going towards the loud and the interactivity with people, or they're going towards the quiet. So I'm always curious.
Mm-hmm.
What will somebody say? So,
That's a great question.
thank you. Well, I do want to close by just saying thank you so much for joining me today, being a Lightspeed partner and customer. We just cannot get enough of the great things you're doing at Union. I really enjoyed this today, just hearing more about your background, more about what great things you all are doing there. And I'd love for you to come back.
Yes. And I would love for you to actually visit in person.
Of course. Of course. How can you turn down a trip to California, right?
Right? And the makerspaces, of course.
That's all for today's Active Listener. Thanks for tuning in. Share your comments on this episode on our Facebook, Twitter, or LinkedIn social media pages. You can visit our website at lightspeed-tech.com to learn more about our mission to ensure every student hears every word. And subscribe to our podcast wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Until next time, let your listening be as active as your learning.